Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. And we are live here on the webinar. I'm just waiting to see if there'll be a few people who join me today. Thanks so much for stopping in. So I'm excited about the webinar today, and I'm going to go ahead and get into a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, as well as telling you who I am and what type of work that I do. And of course, when we get to the end, if you're interested, there'll be an opportunity for you to, for us to see if we'd like to work together. Okay? So it's 7:01. Just trying to see if a few more people come into the webinar before I get into the official start of the webinar today. But the title of today's webinar is called Creativity Rituals to Boost Your Writing and Your Business in 2016. Creativity Rituals to Boost Your Writing and Your Business in 2016. And so, what's that all about? We're talking about creativity rituals, in particular for entrepreneurs. Now, I work in general with entrepreneurs who are interested in learning how to write books to build their business. And I think for many of the people who come to me, they come to me because they want to be able to write a book, but they may not always think of themselves as writers. And I would like to sort of challenge that sort of thinking, because I think everyone can learn how to be writers, and we are all writers in some way, shape, or form. For many of us, we write for our businesses. We write blog posts. We write newsletters. You may write other things for your clients. You may write small ebooks. So just because you're not writing, the great American novel, doesn't mean that you can't count yourself as a writer. And even for entrepreneurs who don't write books or other more traditional types of writing, there are other ways for you to be considered a creative. I think entrepreneurs are among some of the most creative people that there are. Why? Because there's so many choices that you need to be able to make about how it is that you'd like to be able to serve your clients, right? So in that way, you are a very creative person, and that sort of creativity needs to be nurtured on a regular basis. And so that's a little bit about what it is that we're talking about today. We're going to go into some of my own personal creativity rituals that I do on a regular basis for myself, things that I teach to my clients, as well as just whether or not you're interested in writing a book or what have you. These are all things that you could certainly integrate into your own life. You can choose a couple of them. Maybe you're doing some of these already, and maybe you didn't really think of it as a creativity ritual. But yeah, what's a creativity ritual is really just another word that I use for a success habit. There are some things that people do on a regular basis just to be able to keep themselves healthy, just to be able to make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do on a daily basis to be able to make sure that they get what it is that they need to get done during the day. Let's see. So why do this webinar at all? I just explained a little bit about that. I was talking about how I think we're all creative people, entrepreneurs in particular. You don't have to be a writer, painter, singer, dancer, actor in order to be considered a creative person. If you are an entrepreneur, you are a creative person simply because of the choices that you have to make on a day-to-day basis. And so since my work focuses on working with entrepreneurs who want to be able to write books, it only makes sense that I share some of this information about how to be a more creative person. One of the quotes that I wanted to share is from Aristotle. He said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but it's a habit." Okay, so I said just a little bit earlier that creativity rituals are often considered success habits. These things that we do on a regular basis. Some people talk about creativity as something that just sort of shows up. You're waiting for inspired moments rather than cultivating something that you can sort of pull from on a regular basis as needed. And so I just want to challenge many entrepreneurs of thinking, number one, that they're not creative, and number two, that you'd have to wait to be inspired before you actually move on creating something like a new course, a new offering for your clients, writing blog posts, whatever it is that you do on a regular basis. Creativity is something that you can cultivate on a regular basis. And so in order to become excellent at it, to become better at it, or even just to improve upon what it is that you do on a regular basis, you do have to do it regularly. So that was really important. So who am I? Let me get into that. Who am I, and what makes me qualified to talk about this stuff in the first place? My name is Helana Black. You can find me online at digitalwellpublisher.com. That's spelled DIGITALWELL publisher, PUBLISHER.com. And what I do at digitalwellpublisher.com is I am a writer, I'm an editor, as well as a book coach. I support entrepreneurs who are interested in learning how to do good as well as make money through writing books. So many of the people that I work with are what I call conscious entrepreneurs. These are people who have had some sort of a personal experience, or they have some sort of work that their whole heart is invested in, and they are often invested in things like wanting to make the world a better place. They're very interested in a very particular group of people who want to help improve a community. So that's pretty much what I call conscious entrepreneurs. And so these are all entrepreneurs who are interested in learning how to take their book and use it to be able to grow their business. And I think one of the positive things about working with a person like me is because I am a writer and an editor. I'm what you call a developmental editor. And as a developmental editor, what I do is I work with people on creating the message of their book. So when a lot of people think about an editor, I just want to say hello to the people who just walked into the room. Thank you so much for being here. You can put your name in the chat if you'd like to. I'd just like to be able to interact with the people who are online with me today, and just want to be able to make sure that you guys can see and hear me. But yeah, I'm a developmental editor. And when people think of editing, they think of someone who goes in with a finished product and they do basically proofreading, which is, correcting grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, putting certain sentences in different places, that sort of a thing. And while that's certainly part of it, that's actually, that part of editing is something that's done once you have a finished product. But, hi, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. So wonderful to have you here today. Thank you for being here. But yeah, as a developmental editor, one of the things that I do is I am able to support people who are in the thick of the writing process, I like to call it. Um, when you're in the thick of the writing process, first of all, we take a step back even before you even begin your writing, and we start to think about, okay, well, who is it that you're writing for? Who are you writing to? Why is it that you want to be able to write this book? Um, what do you want to gain from writing this book? What sorts of opportunities do you want to be able to go for? And then we sort of take that sort of big picture outlook on your book, and then we get into the mechanics of actual writing, doing the outline. What are you going to include in this outline? What stories can you pull from your experience to be able to support what it is that you want to write about? Looking into the types of material you may already have gathered on your computer already from other presentations, from blog posts, anything that you may already have that we can sort of use to as additional information to be able to include in your book. And then we take all of that information and we sort of, I work with you on creating a whole book that's going to meet your needs, meet your goals, that's going to be helpful to your readers, and also get you the type of clients that you want to be working with, and also people who are interested in paying the fees that you set forth for yourself. Okay, so as a developmental editor, those are some of the things that I work with. That make me a little bit different from how many people think about editing from the first place. So it's a lot more than just correcting punctuation and spelling mistakes. I really get into the whole organization of your book and what it is that you'd like to be able to do, like it to do for your business. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. How I got into doing this type of work with creativity and working with entrepreneurs who want to write books. I've been doing this for maybe about 2 years now. And for the last 2 years, I've been working as a freelance writer. I had actually, a couple of years ago, had started in the health realm. I had started a simple health blog, and I had written a couple of ebooks from there. And from those ebooks, I was able to parlay that into a career in creating ebooks and print books for other people, writing magazine articles, and working with other entrepreneurs on some of the things that they wanted to create. Now, I had actually created a business for myself because prior to that, I was in the world of education. I worked with adult learners at a community college, as well as in other areas, who were interested in learning how to create new careers for themselves. And so I was always really great at helping people to find their path, so to speak, their life path in a way that was going to be able to work for them. Now, of course, I have a master's degree in international education, had actually gone and done further coursework in getting a doctorate. I didn't complete the doctorate, but I did substantial coursework in a doctorate program related to education as well. But what I found was that I had looked at all the people around me, and I said that I had always wanted to work in a community college and in higher education in general, just because I really love working with students and helping them to change their lives. But I looked at the people around me and I thought, you know what, I really wasn't happy with the way that their own lives were turning out. All of these people that I had looked up to, people that I had thought at one point I really wanted to be like, but then I looked at their lives and they were overworked, they were tired. Whenever they got a chance to take a vacation, they felt guilty about it, and so they would take their work with them. There were other things in their lives that they wanted to be able to accomplish because they were so deeply rooted in in this higher ed culture, they didn't do it. You know, and I just didn't want to be like that. And one of the biggest things that actually pushed me to pursue having my own business was there was a gentleman outside of the college that I worked with. There was actually two gentlemen. They were both from Egypt, and they ran this hot dog cart, a very simple cart, not even a lunch truck. It's a hot dog cart. And you know, in getting to know them, at some point they had actually explained that they were making about $80,000 a year just simply selling hot dogs in front of the college. Now, here I was as a, you know, well-educated person. You know, I've, you know, done some things in my life that I thought were pretty impressive, and they were making at least twice the money that I was. You know, they were able to take the money and they would split their time in between working at the hot dog cart. So, you know, when one was working in the States at the hot dog cart, the other would go to Egypt for 6 months and, you know, living their lives in Egypt, and then they would sort of switch back and forth. And so that was really telling for me that while I don't believe that the time that I had spent in creating and working towards the career that I had created for myself, that maybe I should rethink my how it is that I want to be able to work in the world, and think about the money that it is that I want to be able to make, and still be able to make an impact on people who are trying to figure out their lives. So that's just a little bit about me and the work that I do, and how it is that I got to this point. So now I'm really happy to be working with entrepreneurs and helping them to write their books. I love this work that I do. I've always been really great at helping people to find their voice and helping people to be more creative, to feel more creative. And so with that said, why don't we just go ahead and get into some of the content that we wanted to talk about today. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and write your questions in the chat box. And of course, I said at the end, if you are interested in an opportunity I'm going to put forth for us to be able to possibly work together, we can go ahead and move forward with that. But today we're talking about creativity rituals that will help you to boost your writing as well as your business in 2016. So here we are at a brand new year, in the, going into the second week of the new year. So one of the things that I love to be able to do to help that as a creativity ritual, to help me boost my writing as well as my business, is to clear away clutter. This is actually something that I do on a quarterly basis. Many of these things I'm going to talk about today are things that I do on a quarterly basis. Clear away clutter. I'm not the neatest person in the world. I'm the first person to admit that. But that's why at least once a quarter I have to stop and look at my work area, my closets, the bathroom, like the side tables on the side of the bed, any place where clutter can actually happen, and just go through things and sort of decide how and where it is, what it is that I'm using, what I'm no longer using, what can be given away, what can be thrown away, any of that sort of stuff. I think is really important. And one thing that I actually just started to do not too long ago was I needed to do that same thing with the ideas that I have, clearing away the clutter with my ideas, right? So one thing that I know many entrepreneurs like to do is we might have notebooks. Either we write in an actual paper notebook, or we are using something like an Evernote or some sort of online notes where we put ideas for our business. And one day, as I was going through clearing away the clutter and I find all these books of ideas, I write all these things down, but I don't actually have any process for me to be able to decide what to do with a lot of these great ideas. So once a quarter, I like to be able to go through my notebooks. I usually write these down in a paper notebook, and I go back through them just to sort of review what it is that I am working on. So if there's an idea that I can use, I just sort of think about, okay, well, how can I use this going through the next quarter of my business? Is this something that I can use? If not, I just sort of, let it go. If I can use it, I will implement it in some way, shape, or form in the work that I'm already doing. But then I also think about, well, if it's not a good idea for me, perhaps I know someone else who could actually use this idea. Okay, so as an entrepreneur, I'm sure that you know a lot of other people who are also running their business. Some of them may be similar to yours, some of them may not be. But think about whether or not it's an idea that someone else could use. And what's really awesome about that, about using that idea to help you clear away the clutter, is it also helps you to make connections with people, because everyone loves a person with great ideas. So even if this person winds up never even using it, at least they will know that you are thinking about them, and that you're a person with great ideas, and everyone wants to be close to a person who always has great ideas. So clearing away clutter, that's just one of the ways that I work on being a more creative person on a regular basis. Number 2 is to think about the food that you eat. To be able to cleanse yourself with food is super, super important. I'm not a big candy cake person, but I do like I'm a big eater. I like to eat a lot, and I actually like to make food from a lot of different cultures. That's just one of the ways that I like to be able to relax. And so what I do, as far as cleansing with food, once a quarter, is one of the things I like to do is to do things like a raw food cleanse, either for a few days up to a month. And this is totally not a pitch for anyone to do any sort of a particular diet. I'm just sharing what it is that I have done with myself. But using raw foods, like eating raw fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, sprouted nuts and seeds, and using that as a way for me to be able to clear my thoughts, so that I can create plans that will make sense for me. A lot of times our bodies get so inundated with so much junk, and we don't take the time to be able to sort of cleanse that out. And even if you just do, I'm not saying you have to do a raw food cleanse, but even if you just do something as basic as, just eating cleaner, just getting rid of processed foods, maybe doing more cooking at home, even if it's just for a weekend. Perhaps even taking some of the meat out during that particular time, you will find that your thoughts and how you're feeling is going to be a lot clearer for you, and your creativity is going to be a lot easier for you to access when you do that. So yeah, cleansing through food is a really, really important way for you to be able to access your creativity. Number 3, another creative ritual I like to be able to call upon is movement. Any sort of movement in some way, shape, or form. So as a writer, I sit down at my desk a lot, and often for many hours at a time, 3 and 4 hours, which really isn't the best practice. But taking breaks to be able to move, even if you just stand up and you stretch for 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes it's really great for me to be able to just get up all together and walk outside for 30 minutes. But just to incorporate some sort of a movement, I'm not saying, if you go out and do vigorous exercise, that's also wonderful. But you just want to get into the practice of just moving your body. When you're working on the same project for many hours at a time, as many writers are often doing, you can just sort of get stuck in a place where you're no longer feeling like you want to be able to write. And coming back and doing that day after day after day after day you can sort of get into the same, into feeling like you're just doing the same thing over and over again, looking at the same sentences over and over again. So you really want to be able to sort of break that up by doing some sort of movement. Okay? Number 4 is to meditate, to do some sort of meditation. Now, this could certainly be meditation in the traditional sense, where you sit in one quiet space, close your eyes, and try and still your thoughts and your whatever it is that you view in your head, to try and still that for an extended period of time. Could be, a minute, 5 minutes, could be an hour or so. But I also like to be able to think of meditation in a much wider sense, in that meditation is really just focusing on doing one thing at a time, right? So I said I like to be able to cook a lot. Cooking is how I like to be able to express my own personal creativity. And so everything from the planning of the meal, the visioning of what the meal is going to look like, what it's going to taste like, how people are going to enjoy this meal, the ingredients that I'm going to use, where I need to go to be able to get these ingredients. All of that for me is a meditation, to be able to get rid of all the work stuff that I was doing and really just focus on doing something else that feeds you just as much as your work, or even more than your work does. And for me, that's cooking. For other people, it could be going back to what I said before about movement. Running is often a meditation for many people. A meditation could be watching your children enjoy an afternoon. Meditation could be sitting down to write something that has absolutely nothing to do with your work, whether you write poetry. It could be coloring. One of the things that I've gotten into is coloring a lot. So I actually have, some crayons, I have some colored pencils, and I actually have a few of those really interesting adult coloring books that are really popular now. And you just sit down and you do that for a while. You'd be amazed at how that is able, through those activities, you're able to really just sort of clear your brain and just sort of relax your mind for a bit to focus on something else, so that when you are going back to your work and you need to be able to access that creativity that you need to be able to work with your clients, to do your writing projects, whatever it is that you're doing, you'll actually feel refreshed. Okay, so meditation, that's number 4. Number 5 is to write or doodle on a regular basis. Now, of course, if we're talking about creativity rituals, I like to be able to write, but even if some people are not necessarily writers per se, but they like to do things where they write lists or they like to doodle on the side of a page, and that's really super important to be able to do that, to be able to draw figures, to be able to just sort of mindlessly create something on a page that has nothing to do with your work per se. It's really important. So writing and doodling on a regular basis, you can do that. Number 6 is something that I do all the time, actually, is to be able to stimulate your senses. Okay, stimulate your senses. How do you stimulate your senses? Let me show you how I do that. I actually have a whole collection here of essential oils. Essential oils is something that I use on a regular basis to be able to stimulate my brain, to be able to use some sort of aromatherapy, to be able to sort of interrupt whatever sort of muck and confusion is going on in my brain. If I need something that's just going to sort of lift me up, even if it's just temporarily, to lift my mood. I find that using essential oils is a really fun way for me to be able to to be able to do that. So just to give you a bit of just a couple of examples of what it is that I like to use, and they're all, as far as companies are concerned, I don't really have a particular company of brand of essential oils that I use. I use a lot of different brands. Even some of the bigger MLM brands, I'll use that. And then I'll also, if I'm out and about at a store and I find some interesting essential oils, I go ahead and I purchase it. So you can use the brands that you like. But some of the things that I like to be able to use, at least when I'm working, is lavender. Now, for some people, lavender is something that they will use to help them actually go to sleep. For some reason, lavender doesn't make me go to sleep. I don't know why. But it does help me to calm down and to focus. So I use lavender. I just take a little bit and I will put it on my wrists. Sometimes I will take a drop and I will put it under my nose so that I can just a small drop. Sometimes I will mix it in other oils and I will put it over my hands when I get out of the shower, just to sort of mix it with other oils and put it all over my body. Lavender is great for that. I also use geranium oil when I'm about to go to sleep. For some reason, that's a scent that helps me to sleep well. But during the day, I also like to be able to use things that are more citrusy smells, like a lemon, orange, or a grapefruit. Sometimes I might mix that with a little bit of eucalyptus or even a rosemary oil. There's a million different things that you can do with an essential oil. You can get one of those vaporizers, those room vaporizers, where you sort of mix a few drops of the oil and the water, and that's really nice to be able to have that flowing throughout your home. You can get an oil burner and do that. But I love to be able to use scents as a way for me to sort of refresh my brain and help me to access my own creativity. But yeah, just to be able to just stimulate your senses altogether. You could use the scents. Of course, there's taste, so you can use foods. You could change your scenery as far as what it is that you're seeing with your eyes. If you're working in a place where you're just looking at a wall all day, it might be nice to be able to stop and go out into nature even for 30 minutes to be able to change your view. Sometimes people need something as basic as a back rub to be able to help them. They need that personal touch from other people to be able to feel that personal contact. That's a really great way for you to be able to stimulate your creativity. Number seven is to create new experiences for yourself. It's really, really easy for everyone to get stuck in a rut on the things that you do on a daily basis, particularly as it pertains to your business. If you are working a regular day job and you sort of drive to work in the same place every day, you're seeing the same people, talking about the same things, or even if you're a full-time entrepreneur, you can sort of get yourself into a rhythm of doing things, and you start to get into a routine. And while routines are awesome, that's certainly needed too. You also want to be able to create new experiences for yourself, where you're in a space where you'll be thinking about how it is that you can challenge what it is that you're doing, and thinking about, well, is this working for me anymore? How is it that these new people, these new thoughts, these new ideas that are coming to me, how is it that I can incorporate those things into my business? And that's really where growth occurs. Okay, so create new experiences for yourself. These new experiences could include traveling to a new destination. It could be trying a new food. It could be going to meet with a new group of people that you probably wouldn't meet on a regular basis. There's so many ways for you to be able to create new experiences for yourself. So yeah, create new experiences. Now, in that same way that I said create new experiences, I was also talking about creating routines, and that's actually creative ritual number 8, is to create routines for yourself. Okay, when you create routines for yourself, um, you are you're creating a way for you to be able to um, have a way for you to be able to know what it is that you're doing on a regular basis. Now, I'm sure all of you know people who are highly intelligent, highly creative, and have the potential to do a lot of different things in their lives. But because they have that absence of a routine in their lives, they seem to get less done. They seem to be stuck in the same place. Every year they're doing the same thing over and over again. And it's simply because they don't have a routine. They just sort of fly, wherever the wind blows, that's where they are. They're going through life with really no sort of routine, no plan, nothing to really, nothing to that they can really depend on to help them accomplish the goals that they would want to be able to create. That's the reason that creating a routine in your life is so important. Routines actually leave space for you to be able to be more creative when you need to be. Okay, so instead of thinking of routine as a way to sort of lock you down into this space um, where you feel like you don't have any room to be able to grow, routines are really a space for you to be able to know when and where it is that you're going to be able to create for your writing, or even for just doing activities that are going to help you grow your business. So that's super, super important. Okay, so create routines. Number 9 is creating an inspiring workplace. One of my favorite things to do is to purchase flowers every week for my workspace. I love to be able to, I work from my own home. And so my desk is actually facing a window, and I like to be able to, it's a rather large window, so I like to be able to keep it open so that I can get sunshine during the day. And the reason that I do that is because prior to working on my own business from home, I was always working in a cubicle or facing a wall, or, something where I just really felt unproductive. And of course, you want to be able to take your computer outside, but of course, in most working environments, you're not able to do that. So it was really important that when I started working from home, that I would be able to have a space where I can look outside. And I'm lucky now to be able to have a space where there's water, there's palm trees, and all types of beautiful trees and grass. Sometimes during the day, you might see kids running around. And so that's really important to me. I also get flowers for myself every week to every 2 weeks, just to be able to have that on my desk, and to be able to see beautiful flowers sitting there on a regular basis. It's just something that I enjoy. So think about something that you enjoy and what it is that will bring you joy, and just make it a space that you would actually want to be able to sit at and work at. Some place that makes it enjoyable for you to be able to work. And I wanted to say this: a lot of women, they sit around and they sort of wait for a dude to come around and purchase flowers and candy and other things that they want for them. And if that's you, I want to encourage you to stop waiting for somebody else to do these things for you. Just go ahead and do them for yourself. The flowers are really not that expensive. You can get expensive if that's what you want to do, but a lot of the flowers that I get are just from from my local grocery store. They're really beautiful, $5 to $10, and it's just a little luxury that I have for myself, and so I enjoy that. So I encourage you to find a way to be able to create an inspiring workspace for yourself. So that was number 9, and then we'll get into number 10. Number 10, creative ritual that I used to be able to boost my own writing as well as my business, for 2016 is to read fiction. That's actually something that I haven't done a lot, but one of the things that I've wanted to do was to learn how it is that I can use elements of fiction in a lot of the work that I do with my clients, even for myself. For the most part, I work on writing a lot of nonfiction work, and my clients do as well. They write, for the most part, nonfiction books pertaining to their business. But there's a lot of things that we can learn from fiction writers as far as learning how to tell a story. Okay, so for some reason, I see people, sometimes productivity experts or just people who are helping others to be able to get the most out of their day, they tell them to forego the fiction, which I don't think is really fair. Things like watching television, I don't have a television and I haven't had it for years, and it certainly made me more productive. But I know some other people who, they don't feel like the television is a problem, and they minimize it to a certain amount. So you do whatever it is that you feel like you need to be able to do. For me, I don't watch television, but reading fiction, high quality fiction. I don't care to read, some of the other, super short novels that people are sort of putting out today. That's really just not my taste. But to be able to read other types of fiction and to be able to see how it is that people are able to use their storytelling skills to get their point across, I think is a really important skill. And nonfiction authors can use some of those skills to be able to write a more interesting nonfiction book. So those are my 10 creativity rituals that I use to be able to boost my writing as well as my business for 2016. I don't know whether you guys have questions or if you have other rituals that you use yourself that you want to be able to talk about. There's a little chat box there on the side. If you'd like, you can leave a comment there. But I'm going to go ahead and review our 10 creativity rituals. Number 1 was to clear the clutter. Okay, so clear the clutter from your space, your workspace, your kitchens, your closets, your bathroom, the side tables from your bed, under the bed, all that sort of stuff. Just clear the clutter. Number 2 is to cleanse with food. Think about the food that you eat and sort of try and minimize the junk food, particularly if you know that you're going into doing a creative project, like you're writing a new book, you're thinking about creating a partnership with someone, any sort of thing that's going to require more concentration, more creativity than usual. Think about ways that you can use food to be able to cleanse and clear your brain so that you'll be able to focus on your project. Number 3 was to do movement. Movement can be as simple as stretching at your desk, getting on the floor, doing yoga poses, doing walking, light jogging, whatever it is that you can do. Some people like going to the gym and all that stuff, whatever it is that you do. If you don't have any way to be able to incorporate movement in some way, shape, or form into your physical body, I want to be able to encourage you to do that today. Number 4 is to meditate. That could be as simple as doing the traditional meditating, where you close your eyes and you sort of clear your head and your mind of thoughts for a certain amount of time, or it could be other things. I talked about doing cooking as a way for you to be able to meditate, just doing one thing at a time, putting absolute focus on whatever that one thing is. Number 5 is to write or to doodle regularly. It's really nice to be able to just stop and just sort of let your brain go where it wants to go for a minute, whether you're writing lists, drawing pictures, or whatever it is that you would like to be able to do. Writing or doodling in a certain way is a great way for you to be able to help you to be more creative. That was number 5. Number 6 is to stimulate your senses. I talked about how I use essential oils to be able to sort of light up my brain a little bit, to be able to cut the monotony of working on a particular project, but you could also do cut the monotony with stimulating your senses through food, through walking outside and having fresh air on your face, and having cold air hit your face if you're in a stale room where you're particularly in a place that's heated. That might be really important for you. Do something to stimulate your senses. Number 7, create new experiences. Travel more, speak to new people, read different types of books that you wouldn't be able to read. That's really important. Number 8, create routines. Create routines and schedules. Even when we just talked about creating routines or creating new experiences, you want to be able to have those routines so that you can create a space for you to be able to be more creative. There's nothing worse than having to watch a wonderfully creative person waste a lot of time, space, and energy simply because there's just too much going on. So routines actually help you create the space that you need to be creative. Number 9 is to create an inspiring workspace. I just talked about how I buy myself flowers. I have my desk facing an open window, and that's something that I love. So think about what it is that you need to be able to have at your workspace to be able to help you stay creative. And then, of course, number 10 is to read fiction books. Fiction, in reading fiction books, I've learned that routine. Yeah, Kelly, routine is a big one. Learning how to create a routine, particularly around writing, because a lot of people to be able to sit down and write a book, it takes a lot of diligence. It takes a lot of effort. And if you don't have a routine around writing that book that you want to be able to write, for a lot of people, it either won't get done or it takes years for people to be able to write it. And for most books, particularly if you're writing a book for your business, it shouldn't have to take you years to be able to create it. It's just a matter of sitting down and creating a routine around what it is that you want to create, so that you can access your creativity because you got into a routine of doing this on a regular basis, right? And then number 10, I was talking about reading fiction. When we read fiction, when we do things like read fiction, we talk about helping us to improve our storytelling skills. There's so many fiction writers who are really wonderful at it. And it's something that a lot of nonfiction writers can learn, how to be able to tell a better story. What constitutes a great story when you're telling your own story, and sharing that with your readers. And what stories you can pull from your life and perhaps even the lives of your clients, and trying to illustrate the points that you'd like to be able to make in your book. So that's all that I have for today. Talking about my 10 creative rituals to help you boost your writing, as well as your business in 2016. Not sure if you guys had any questions for me today, but I wanted to go ahead and put something out there on the table for you. Hopefully, I think that you guys should be able to see it on, I think it's the right-hand side for you. What I'm doing is I'm doing creative momentum strategies sessions with people. Absolutely no obligation. You can sign up just to be able to sit down and talk. If one of the goals that you have for 2016 is to sit down and write a book that will help you to grow your business, no matter what type of business it is that you do, I'd love to be able to support you in that. So I ask you, when January 2017 comes along, what is it that you want to be celebrating this time next year? Do you want to be able to still be saying, I wish I had time to write a book, I wish I could write a book, I wish I knew how to write a book? Or do you want to be able to say that you are a best-selling author? Do you want to be able to say that you've created a coaching program from this book this beautiful book that you've been able to write. And you've been able to attract all these really wonderful brand new clients that fit exactly who it is that you're supposed to be working with. Do you want to be able to create some sort of a retreat or some sort of an event for clients? Do you want to be able to create a speaking career where you are traveling around the United States or even around the world, sharing your message with people and being able to sell your book? It's a really wonderful way for you to create another income stream in your business. But also just to be able to really touch lives. You know, for many of us with the work that we do, sometimes our programs, our services may be too much for people to be able, for some people to be able to pay. You know, and that's just the reality of being able to run a business, particularly if you're a coach or something like that. Coaching may not always be accessible to everyone, but everyone can buy a book. And when they buy your book, they may be motivated to be able to find the means to be able to work with you. You know, so there's so many different scenarios of how and why writing a book is really essential, or can be an essential part of your business, whether you're a coach, a speaker, an expert of some kind, or you know, if you just consider yourself any sort of entrepreneur. Books can be life-changing, as well as a really practical means of you to be able to grow your business monetarily, as well as to be able to grow your visibility as far as your PR is concerned. Media loves to be able to focus on people who write books so that they can look at you as an expert. But yeah, so that's really what it is that I have for you guys today. If you're interested in a one-on-one session with me, and we can talk about how it is that I can support you in 2016 so that this time next year you can say that you are actually a published author. Okay? So what do you want to be celebrating this time next year? Just go ahead and click on this sign up now button. If for some reason you can't see it, you can actually go to, I have a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/call Halana. Okay, so that's bit.ly/call Halana. That's CALLHALONA, all lowercase. Okay, bit.ly/call Halana, CALLHALONA. Okay, that is where you can go to fill out the very short application. Once you fill out the application, I'll be happy to forward you a link to my personal schedule, and we can set up a time to be able to sit and talk with one another on the phone. Okay, so again, my name's Halana Black. I am from digitalwellpublisher.com. I support entrepreneurs who are interested in learning how to make a difference as well as make money. You can find me at digitalwellpublisher.com. If you're interested in working with me, I invite you to do a strategy session where we can talk about your business, your goals, and the books that you would love to create so that this time next year you can be a published author. So again, you can find me online at bit.ly/call Halana, CALLHALONA. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for the last hour, and you enjoy the rest of your Sunday, guys. Good night.